Sir Vince, makapagbawas ka na sa bucket list mo. Nandito na yung tangke, makapag-drive ka na.
Uy, ayos yan ha. Sige, on my way. Hiho, Dep. Hey everyone, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and what I have for you today is the Tank 300. And I reckon it's one of the vehicles that a lot of you really want to try out for yourself. Now, why is that? Well, it's because GWM, yes, Great Wall Motor, they're blending together two very distinct characteristics. That of a 4x4 classic ladder frame SUV together with modern technologies, modern drive systems, and also very advanced electronics. We will put a lot of those things to the test. What's clear just by looking at the vehicle is that GWM is being very faithful to some really classic SUVs that we know and love. Think Mercedes G-Wagon, Jeep Wrangler, even the Suzuki Jimny and all that. All of these are very boxy vehicles, and GWM really went for that, gave it a retro feel. That's what we like. You can see the retro feel with the round headlights, of course, still LED over there. It has these really nice violators. The grille is really nice as well, gloss black with the Tank logo right there. It's a neat looking logo. Yeah, the front camera over here, a little bit off to the side. A really extended bumper, again, similar to what you would see on a Wrangler. Really profound fender flares right there, mud guards, so it doesn't, throw it all up onto the glass. That's something we like. But overall, let us know in the comments below what you think of the design of this. I mean, it is a big SUV. It really does take inspiration from a lot of those classic SUVs, and it's kind of hard not to love it the way it is. The Tank 300 is a 5-seater mid-size SUV. It measures 4.76 meters long, and I measure that it actually includes the spare tire in that overall length. For wheels, you have 17 inches and it's black. It's really cool. Some of the other examples we've seen have come with diamond cut two-tone wheels, but we like these very much, especially the fact that it comes with all-terrain tires already factored in. No need to upgrade that for future reference. Now, what can we see here on the side? Again, the big fender flares, very nice. Side mirrors here, very big. You have repeaters, including part of the 360 camera system right over here. And it says right here on the glass, objects in the mirror might be closer than they appear, but in Arabic, which tends to think that this must be a Dubai something spec unit, which would actually work well there. Sand dune bashing and all that. Now, very chunky grip type door handles. I mean, you're not gonna miss this. I mean, it's a huge thing. But what's interesting, you have these side steps over here that are positioned high up for extra ground clearance. And it doesn't look, too inspiring or high quality. But let me tell you now, just by getting on top of it, seems pretty solid to me. I mean, imagine the PSG and the Secret Service using something like this. That would be pretty cool. The same robust and classic aesthetic continues with the rear of the vehicle. I mean, nothing says classic SUV more than a spare tire on the tailgate of your SUV. That's just, I like it that way. It's really cool. Really chunky bumper here as well with the plate mount over there. Some of the older SUVs, they tend to put it over here, but not in this one. The nice vertical taillights here also look very cool. One criticism though, there is a gap between this and where it should be, and it's showing you the rougher texture underneath. I mean, it's a minor detail, but the fact that it's sticking down a bit lower, yeah, maybe they can make it a little bit better. To pop the tailgate, well, you press this button there, and then this opens up to the side, because since you have a spare tire there, you cannot fold it, flip it up, has to go out to the side, and it locks right there. So wind should be no problem. When you have this open, you have about 30 inches of space with 42 inches of width. But the great thing here is that you can fold down these rear seats, and when you do, it's a 60-40 split, by the way. And when you do, the space extends to around 58 inches, or the length anyway. It gives you a lot of versatility with the cargo space. But there is a special trick with that. We'll show you in a bit. So here in the back, what else do we see? We see hooks over there, a 220-volt outlet with a 12-volt outlet over there, all kinds of storage, even a fire extinguisher right over here. It's stuck on the Velcro right over there. Right there for you to use underneath. What do you have? Subwoofer. You have a high visibility vest, early warning device, and all kinds of tools and such. Yeah, I really like these things. I should keep one in my car all the time. To open it, close, then there you go. Now let's check out what's under the hood. When you pop open the hood of the Tank 300, which by the way is double latched, which is really cool, is that you'll see a 2-liter turbo gasoline engine. Actually, it's a turbo intercooler gasoline engine because the turbo there on the passenger side, it routes through an intercooler right here in front, comes out here into the intake. Power, you've got 217 PS and 318 Newton meters of torque with a relatively flat torque curve, I think from 1600 RPM up to like 3.6 or something like that. So it's not really groundbreaking when it comes to all those because I would have wanted maybe a bit more torque, but we'll see later when we drive it. Right behind the engine is an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission, which gives you 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. Later when we go inside, I'll show you some of the other functions of this. It's actually pretty neat. But looking around, you have the ABS unit here, your fuse box here, big battery, which is bolted right very, very securely, which I like. On the passenger side, you'll see the air intake with the inlet right over here. And if you notice, if you actually measure how high it is from the ground, it's about 1 meter more, or actually just a little bit around 1 meter. So the water weighting of this, they're quoting it at around 700, which is pretty good for something like this. And mind you, this is a ladder frame vehicle. This is not some monocoque crossover. You'll see it when you peek behind the front wheels. You'll see a very chunky, I think it's a 160 by 130 millimeter, basically tubular steel running the length of the vehicle. That is that makes up your ladder frame, which gives it its strength. For suspension, they didn't opt for the solid front axle because, you know, in terms of ride, that would really sacrifice quite a bit. But the solid rear axle will give you all the articulation you need, hopefully when we try it off-road later on. First impressions of the Tank 300's interior, it's impressive. Like, you half expect to walk into one of these cars and you think that it's supposed to be, you know, plasticky and it's supposed to be utilitarian and very basic. Not this one, because you look around, what they did with the dashboard, absolutely fantastic. Love the way they did this leather thing, this pad on top, the way they did the 2 screens. By the way, both are, I think, 12.3 inches, thereabouts. Big screens right here in front, one in front of the driver, another one for, you know, kind of everyone. And then you have this trim here with this, I don't know, geometric pattern that just looks absolutely cool. And then you look at the AC vents, the way they did the vents, very nice. Actually, it's very Mercedes the way they did this. Like, yeah, it's really well built. I mean, it's got this metal ring around it. Just looks cool. Got a nice analog clock here with buttons for the defoggers and your hazards there. Really nice grab handle here if you have to brace yourself if you're sitting in the passenger seat while you're driving around off-road. Steering wheel, very nice and big and very well done. They're not trying to go for a super space age steering wheel. Just a very classic looking one. Love it. Tank logo right there, really looks cool. Buttons on the left, buttons on the right. Now, you have paddle shifters here at the back for the 8-speed ZF automatic, plus on the right, minus on the left, and then your usual controls here. But if you notice, there's no cruise control here on the steering wheel. It's actually right here behind. If anything, it's a little bit obstructed by the rather thick spoke of the steering wheel, but once you know how to work it, you should be okay. The Infinity audio system right there, the speakers, they're all Infinity branded. Sounds fantastic, by the way, but we can't play you any audio from that. Now, This main screen, it's not one of those conventional dial displays. They're trying to display a lot of stuff. You have your range on the left, door open, of course, indicator. Tire pressure right now is a bit low because I think Jamil dropped it. He wanted it to be a bit softer. We'll test it out later, but should be okay. The normal pressure, the recommended pressure for this is around 34, 35 thereabouts. Fuel gauges right there. It just all seems good and well built. They really put a lot of effort in how they did the interior of this. Your climate control is right here. It's a dual zone climate control, and you can set the temperature individually, but not through here. You can set it through here, through the screen. So if you go up, you've got your controls for your climate control right there, no problem. So you can set those individually as you so wish. Now, below it, 12-volt outlet right there. You got a USB port, USB-C port. You don't get a wireless charger in this one. So mine right now, yeah, no wireless charger. There's no logo, no switch, no nothing over there. Going to the screen. So right now you have ventilation, seat ventilation, by the way, for front and the passenger and the driver. So right now we'll put it there. If you want to play a prank, I'll see if I can get it. No. Well, there you go. So it doesn't have the heater function at all, which is kind of cool. Now, this one you can pull down a menu, displays all kinds of stuff right there. Yeah, depends on what you want to play with. The auto starts off off-road cooling, which is actually interesting. I haven't seen that kind of feature in any vehicle that I've driven before. This one does come with a 360 camera. So with the 360 camera of this one, right now it's kind of, it's got a wonky display because one door is open. But let me reassure you now, it's one of the better displays I've seen. And the way they did it is very nice. The clarity is really good. I mean, I can make out details. That's what you want in your vehicle. And it's got moving object detection. You can see it right there, MOD. So when someone comes into the frame, it'll alert you that there's somebody there. So it's using the sensors together with the camera. You also got the 3D system there. So that's it. You can see, because the door is open, you can see Arnel. Ay ka lang dyan? Anyways, this one does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, depending on what you plug in. I'll roll in the footage of the Android Auto. Now you can see the clarity is actually really good for the system. We also use it with the Apple CarPlay. Works perfectly fine. So you got 2 high, 4 high, 4 low. When you activate 4 low, then you can use this dial here to be able to go around the many different settings of the vehicle for the difficult terrain that you might encounter. So it's got rock mode, sand mode, mountain mode, pothole mode, all that stuff for you to play around with. We'll try to play around with that up in the mountains. You also have this one. This one is called, let me see, get out of, here you go. When you press this button, it goes into expert mode. So when you go into expert mode, these settings will come up, all right? So you have normal, sport, and eco for the drive modes, the way the transmission behaves and the way the throttle behaves. The steering mode, comfort, sport, and light. So normally for most of our driving, keep it in comfort is perfectly fine. And the ESC setting. So all the nannies in the car will try to keep you safe. So all on right there. TCS, traction control, vehicle dynamic control is right there. You can turn it all off, or I mean those two off, and then you can turn off everything as well, depending on what you want. Again, it's assuming that you know what you're doing when you're going it off-road. It's giving you full manual control of the things around the vehicle when it comes to the drivetrain. Down here as well, you have the electronic parking brake, auto brake hold. There's a lot of stuff here. And then you have, this is the hill start assist. I think, yeah, that's the hill start assist, because the hill descent control is over here. And then you have here your front and rear locking differentials. Those are things that are gonna really be handy if you're a serious off-roader kind of person. But one of the unique features here, right here, this is called the tank turn. So what it does is it uses the electronic parking brake to grab an individual wheel, usually the inner wheel, to give you a very tight turning radius. Especially, that's gonna be handy if you're really off-road, like you have to be able to turn your vehicle in a very tight spot. That can come in handy, but I've seen videos of that in use. We'll see if we can try it out a little bit later. Just behind of this panel, you've got a tray that slides backwards and forwards. It has 2 cup holders here, which are very, very deep, which I'm not a huge fan of that because, you know, for smaller cups, it might not work. And then you have your the compartment here with a cooling function, so you cool your drinks while you're on the go. Up here, now to open the sunroof, pull this down, right? And then to close it, you pull the other one down. They actually have 2 switches for that, depending on what you want to do. Anyways, I think that's it for the front. Let's check out the back seat. Remember when we showed you the cabin space and it seemed like it's a fold flat? Well, when you fold down this rear seat, it doesn't seem like it can achieve it. But if you're familiar with, say, a Montero Sport, and you know how it folds, then you'll know that you can actually do something like this. Fold this up, which gives you that room, and then you can fold it down to give you the fold flat. So very similar to a Montero Sport. Actually, I think this is a very good system to have. It's just not one touch, but it gives like a buffer or a backstop for anything you put in here, which I think is very nice. Now let's get that back up and see what about the space. Honestly, I had low expectations of the back seat of this, but it's impressing me the more I try things out. Like the center armrest, very cool. The headrest, I like. The build quality and the stitching is really nice. The comfort of the seat is very good. On the left, you do have the infinity speakers as well. Very nice door handles, power windows right there. And then you see this grab handle. I mean, you have the one up here with the hanger up there. But another one here, also with what appears to be a hanger, which is, it's pretty good. I mean, you see these things and like, that's pretty thoughtful. Seat back pockets here, 2 AC vents, USB ports in the back, right? Both USB-A with a pocket there. It's a pretty impressive like back seat. I mean, there's no third row, but you sit in here. You've also got a nice view ahead. I mean, big glass there, big glass, and it's really one made for an adventure, a safari kind of adventure. And I can't wait to try it out. So let's go drive it now. There are a lot of people looking forward to the review of the Tank 300. And why wouldn't they? It's a hell of a thing to look at. I mean, you walk up to it, it just looks so imposing, it looks so cool. And with a name like Tank, it is cool. I mean, where else can you find a vehicle called Tank? You know, yeah. I mean, in day and age when a lot of vehicle names and everything is, you know, politically correct, I like to think that, you know, sometimes you still have the old school cool, and GWM is definitely giving us that with a Tank. And when you sit in it, when you drive it around for the first time, you get this commanding presence. I mean, the commanding visibility plus the presence. I mean, if you're the type that doesn't like attention when you drive, this may not be the car for you. But, you know, if you like people checking out, think, what are you driving? I'm driving the freaking Tank. Well, this is going to be the one for you. Now, if your concept of the Tank 300 is something you would drive every day, I think it's going to work well with you, regardless of where you take it. Because right now in the city, I'm really enjoying it. The ride comfort is something that surprised me, because normally truck platforms, you know, not the best when it comes to suppression, and this also has all-terrain tires. So I was expecting things like a harsh ride, really bouncy, wallowy, and all that, plus tire noise. I was expecting all of that. This one dispelled all those notions, because driving it around on the bumpier stuff, I mean, I intentionally drive over truck lanes and all that, because that's the rougher part of the road, like on C5 or on EDSA, wherever. So this one, it manages it so well. Like, you're driving it around, it doesn't feel like it's, you know, transferring as much of that to you when you're sitting inside. And that one I like. And it's not so wallowy. I mean, granted, it's not going to be sports car or crossover-ish because of the high center of gravity and all that when you're driving it around. So you will get a bit of body roll also when you're braking. It tends to nosedive. Again, high center of gravity. So keep those in mind. So you have to be a bit more managed if you're driving it fast. But if you're, not really driving it that fast and cornering that fast, you should be perfectly fine. Now, when it comes to fuel economy, that's really one of the kind of not so great points about the vehicle. Most of our time with it in the city, you're getting around 5.7 to around 6.5, depending on the traffic. And on the highway fuel economy, with more people in the car, we're getting around 12, which not bad, not great. Acceleration, I mean, it's okay. It does kick down a few gears. I mean, the transmission of this one is a ZF unit. It's pretty good, and it responds pretty well. But the engine, I feel, they could have gone with something a bit better for the engine. Maybe the 2-liter wasn't, I mean, it's enough, but it's not exactly groundbreaking in terms of power and torque delivery for you, depending on your needs. But again, that's a matter of my preference. It also has a deal with all this weight, though. But again, it works just fine for most purposes, and that, I think, makes it a very viable vehicle for someone who would use this every day. Another thing is the silence of the vehicle. It's actually pretty good. Like, you sit inside, it's pretty quiet in here. It's muting everything and managing everything very well. Not getting any tire droning, which I do like. I mean, you expect that out of, slightly knobbier all-terrain tires, but this one works pretty well all around. But the Tank 300, I mean, it's great here, and the traffic jam assist and the adaptive cruise control works well. The steering assist, maybe not so much. It's a bit unsure about how much adjustment it's going to do. But really, the Tank 300, I mean, it's great here, but I think this might be a better fit elsewhere. Somewhere where we don't have to deal with bus lanes and bollards and concrete roads. Let's take it off-road. No review of the Tank is complete without at least, taking it somewhere where it gets a little bit of dust on it, a little bit of mud, and has to negotiate some rocks. And here we're in, Daraitan and Tanay, Rizal, on a place where normally it's more for 4x4s. There are some places where you take with a 4x2, no problem. But when it rains, in this place, all bets are off. So you can see lots of rocks around. It's really just mud. I mean, imagine how muddy this gets when it's wet. Too bad today it's not raining, or maybe it's better that it's not raining. Makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more convenient for us to do our shoot. So the ground clearance here really comes into play. 224 millimeters, plenty for this kind of road. You just have to be, aware of where you place the tires. And if you need a little help, you can use the camera here to give you a better view of the surface you're trying to tackle. Thankfully, this part is the easier part, and shouldn't be a problem for this vehicle. So we're here at Campwell River Valley to try out the abilities of the Tank 300. Now, this is not going to be a super serious 4x4 test, but we'll see how it behaves. And clearly, they've been doing quite a bit of work with their location. Like, some of the things, I mean, since the last time I was here, it looks quite different, seems a bit more developed. But one thing that's still not changed is how steep this drop to the river bed is. So this is where, put it into 4, that's why 4 low. All right, switch vehicle to neutral, which we do by pushing it that way. Cannot switch to DRP, engaging 4-wheel drive low. Okay, let's do the crawl control. Wait, let's try. Okay, now we are in 4x4 low. We don't need to lock the differential yet, but right now, as you can see from that camera, I can't really see what's going on below, so I'll have to use the camera, or unless I have a spotter, I do, but this is kind of cool. So there's a gutter on the left, I want to avoid that, and we'll drop the car down, that's the crawl control activating. So that's me not even touching the brakes, not touching the gas. I'm just letting it go down gradually. I can intervene at any point, but I'd rather not. Ooh, I think we scraped something there, but should be all well and good. You should be able to see the articulation of the rear axle from the GoPro in the back, if it's still there. So this is actually where something like the tank comes into play. We won't go for the extreme part, but we can at least test some of the things. I'm not going to use a rock mode. I'd rather use the locking differentials front and rear. And like I said, that's something you don't find in a production 4x4. I mean, I've seen it in serious like modified off-roaders, but not in a production type of 4x4 vehicle. So we'll see if it works. So we're going over the rocks. Again, I'm not going to use a rock mode. It's just crawling along very nicely. I'm trying to avoid as much of the rougher rocks or the sharper rocks as I can, but all well and good. You know, you can really get close to the water if you want. I would rather not cross there because I don't have any support vehicle with me, just in case I, make a mistake. That's the kind of thing you have to think about with this kind of, driving, that you want to be able to, like you need some help. You need a buddy system. But if you really want to go on an adventure, by all means, go for it. But this is not my car, and I'd rather not do that. So at least now you can see how everything's behaving in terms of the traction. Oh, there you go. Haven't scraped anything on these rocks yet, but mind you, these rocks are actually still pretty, decently sized. Not really huge. We're not going to be doing any bouldering now, but still, yeah. The Tank 300, no problem on a surface like this, so long as you manage it. So, the GWM Tank 300. Well, I really enjoyed this SUV. Now, I do feel that they could do with a bit more power, but for our purposes today, no problem. In terms of the ride, when you're in the city, it can seem a little bumpier, but when you're out here, it's actually nice and perfect. Some of the things I think they need to work on, maybe the traction control system, how that operates and how it senses, as well as when it comes to the tank turn, we had a few hang-ups trying to get it to activate. Actually, I didn't even get it to activate. You'll have to look at how that actually works. But overall, the 4x4 experience of this one, pretty fantastic. I mean, I implore you, try it out for yourself and see how this vehicle behaves. We like the look, the retro looks. We love the interior, the way they did it, and the overall quality, actually quite impressive. As for the price, this one retails for just under 2.7 million, and they've got a really nice and long warranty for the vehicle. That is something they really worked on to be able to give you greater value for money. But let the SRP sink in for a bit. At 2.7 million, this is way under a lot of the similar 4x4s that actually can rival this. Because when it comes to style, the retro looks, the nice interior, yeah, I'd be hard-pressed to find something that compares for the price. Think FJ Cruiser, they don't do that anymore. Jeep Wrangler, the interior of the Wrangler, not like this. But still, it'll be interesting to see how this compares against something like, I don't know, Ford Bronco when they launch it. Anyways, try it out for yourself and see how the Tank 300 fits you because, yeah, I'm enjoying this. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com. Let's go for some more splashing on the water.